Hello and welcome once again to Addicted to Animation Reviews, where today I'm reviewing something that's not animated. And it's something appalling. So, Resident Evil, the Final Chapter. I'll be honest, I actually kinda really enjoyed the first 3 Resident Evil movies, because as someone not familiar with the games, I thought they offered a fun twist on the zombie genre and added a lot of new sort of concepts, creatures and conspiracies that set them apart from the average zombie flick. But after that, the franchise took a nosedive into plot hole-filled madness, and the recent 6th movie feels like an attempt to attack the minds of anyone who actually paid attention to the events of the previous films. So much so that there are 2 plot holes within the first 1 minute of the film. Firstly, it's stated in Alice's opening narration that the American government blew up Raccoon City, even though it was plainly the Umbrella Corporation who did it at the end of the 2nd movie. The opening narration also explains that the Red Queen was designed to resemble the daughter of Dr. James Marcus, co-CEO of the Umbrella Corporation, even though in the first movie it was said that she was designed to resemble the head programmer's daughter, not the frickin' co-CEOs. The plot holes get even worse from here as we quickly learn that Dr. Isaacs, the main villain in the 3rd movie, is actually the 50% owner of the Umbrella Corporation, which makes no sense since his clone, who according to this movie was programmed to have his memories and believe that he was the real Isaacs, was clearly taking orders from Wesker in the 3rd movie. Speaking of Wesker, remember how in the previous movie he went to exceptional lengths to rescue Alice and fight against the Umbrella Corporation? Well, in this movie it turns out that Wesker never really betrayed Umbrella and only pretended to give Alice her powers back at the end of that film, meaning that Wesker wasted an absurd amount of time, money, weapons and men to save a woman he didn't want to save for no explained reason in the last movie. This is exceptionally absurd given how close humanity is to extinction during this movie, with likely only a few thousand people left on Earth.
You magnificent bastard, I read your book!
But wait, the continuity errors don't stop with Wesker being a massive idiot, since in this movie he shows no sign of having all those T-virus powers he had in the previous films. Oh, and there's no explanation of where those went to. I'm guessing the writer just forgot about them. We also learn in this film that the T-virus was made by Dr. James Marcus to save his daughter Alicia from premature aging, even though a large part of the plot of the 2nd movie centered around how Dr. Charles Ashford invented the T-virus to save his daughter Angela.
Continuity! I guess it's only for people who give a shit.
God, at this point, I cannot believe that these movies have the same writer, Paul W.S. Anderson. Does he have fricking Alzheimer's? But no, I'm not even close to finished with how many plot holes there are in this film, since a huge part of this film's plot centers around how the Red Queen is programmed with valuing life and being unable to kill an Umbrella employee. Which makes no sense, since not only was she planning to wipe out all life on Earth in the previous film, which is completely not addressed in this film at all, but throughout and just prior to the 1st movie, she slaughtered dozens of Umbrella employees. This is beyond Stephen Moffat level plot holery at this point. Oh, and you know how in the past couple of movies Umbrella were revealed to have been making hundreds of Alice clones in order to work out how the T-virus bonded to her so perfectly and make a clone army out of Alice's? Well, in this movie it seems they already knew why it bonded so perfectly with her all along, since they already knew that Alice, spoiler alert, was a clone of Alicia Marcus, the 50% owner of Umbrella who the virus was designed for, meaning that Umbrella wasted billions of dollars making hundreds of clones and building entire fake cities on an experiment to work out something they already knew. But wait, it gets worse. It gets so much worse. You know how all of the awful things Umbrella did in these movies up to this point was for the main purpose of stopping the virus from spreading, right down to blowing up an entire city in the hopes of stopping the virus from spreading? Well, guess what? In this movie, it turns out that they were the ones who spread the virus in the first place, meaning that Umbrella spent the last 5 movies working against themselves to make their own plans harder.
Great continuity!
And to make things worse. Worse again. Things are getting worse. In this movie, it's revealed that Umbrella kept their high command in cryogenic sleep in the hive. Meaning that these idiots actually dropped a nuclear bomb right on top of the facility housing their own freaking leaders. Well, apart from Wesker, who apparently doesn't count, despite, according to the third movie, being the chairman of the board of directors, none of whom also apparently count, since they were out of there in the third movie. Well, with that said, Wesker's an idiot, so I understand why you might not care about letting him be kept safe. I mean, there's a scene in this film where instead of just letting a giant fan kill all of Alice's companions and Alice, he stops it just after killing a girl who stuck her middle finger up at him, even though it would have been really easy for him to just kill them all and and end the threat altogether. So, I get why they'd leave him behind. Anyway, back on topic. The start of this movie confirms that it's still canon that the T-virus is somewhat airborne as per the fourth movie. But unlike the fourth movie, there's no mention of Alaska being a safe zone, nor is it stated why the Umbrella Corporation would want to create an apocalypse which destroys almost all of the world's plant life, as per the third movie, when in this movie it's revealed that they plan to repopulate the Earth all along, in a world which has no food, since almost all plant life would be dead, where any cloud could blow the T-virus back into your new population, and where they only have one glass vial of the antidote, which they keep in a facility underneath a city that they blew up. It's almost as if even if Umbrella's plan, even if Isaac's plan had worked, it would have completely failed anyway. Oh yeah, it would. But that's enough about plot holes. I know, there are more. There are a great many more. But I am seriously getting a sore throat now, and I want to wrap this up. But there are so many more things wrong with this film. So I'm just going to talk about things that aren't plot holes. So, aside from that, the story is a nonsensical mess. The action sequences are appallingly directed and shot, with needless jump cuts occurring roughly once per second, which becomes exceptionally disorientating to the point that I actually got a headache at one point trying to follow what on earth I was seeing. And there's the issue that the previous film set up a massive, extremely exciting looking battle that has no payoff in this film, which is set months afterwards. The film also puts no effort into developing any of its characters, with even Claire from some of the previous films being reduced to little more than a backdrop cheerleader for Alice, while all the other characters may as well have just been named cannon fodder for all the personality they had and investment I had in them, and how unemotional their deaths were. The CGI was terrible, especially in the explosions, which were some of the cheapest and least convincing I've ever seen in a major film. With that said, the practical effects were actually pretty good, but to the film's discredit, we barely see them, with the camera jump cutting away from every practical effect just after it happens. With that said, Ian Glenn did a spectacular job at performing 2 versions of Dr. Isaacs and making each one a believable and realistic character, with each being terrifying for his own reasons. The film really makes me wish Glenn were in more movies, and hopes that more doors are opened up for him in films in the future. The film also gives us one of the most hilarious deaths in cinema history, in which a certain character is killed by a door. I just couldn't stop laughing after that. And that one death scene is why I still kinda recommend this movie, even though the rest of it will want to make you scream and punch yourself and then smack your screen on the floor with frustration. I also love the creature designs, especially the way they basically put Killer Croc in this movie. Overall score, 2 out of 10.